We begin this tutorial with the equipment. First, we'll use the model knife with two blades, one very sharp to cut through the soft plastic, like cut the blade and Saber Obi-Wan, and one which is blunt to set the super glue on the wires and different parts of the miniature. Careful with the sharp blade. Next, we'll have the hand drill. We'll drill bits going from 0.8mm to 3.2mm. 0.8 is used to drill inside the lightsaber, 1.6 will be used to drill a small hole to put the future blade inside, and 3.2mm is used on the base. We'll have the acrylic blades, translucent one, which are made from soft plastic coming from the same reseller as lead and conductive paint. It's soft plastic, so it's easy to cut it. I take a blue one. Next comes the super glue. It's called cyanoacrylate glue, and I pick a liquid one which is easier to use. Try to use brand new glue. Next we will have the tweezers, which are thin tweezers to manipulate the small leads. Millipute or green stuff with plastic art to rebuild the base of the miniature, because in this tutorial I will use big batteries which are too high to get under the base, so I will have to break the base and rebuild it. Plastic art is 0.5 high. Then comes the pre-wired LEDs. They are very small, they have a 1mm length by 0.5mm width, and they come with a resistor on the positive polarity. I prefer the pre-wired LEDs because I do not have a precision soldering iron, so I cannot weld the wires on the LED. And if you don't have a precision soldering iron, you should buy pre-wired LEDs because they are very small and fragile. It comes in colors, but I prefer the cool white basic LED. We have the conductive paint, which is mandatory to paint the wires that will cut from the LED. It will provide electricity continuity on the circuit just by painting with a pencil the wires on your miniature. Be careful because of the silver particles. I recommend you to use a different water pot to rinse your pencil. Moreover, if like me you use your saliva to smooth the tip of your brush, try to avoid it this time. The Dremel with two major accessories: the sandpaper disc to polish the tip of the acrylic blade and the paperclip electrode for the base, and the cutting disc for the paperclip. Multimeter to check the conductivity along your miniature when you have paint the wires with the conductive paint. Here comes the multimeter to check the conductivity along your miniature. I used an analogic one with settings on Omega X1. And when you touch a conductive area with both electrodes, the multimeter will beep like that. You know electricity is passing by. If the pointer on the screen moves. Now the batteries. In this tutorial I use CR2032 batteries with a 3V capacity, and that's why I will perform a base augmentation, because they are too thick to fit under the base. You can also use CR2016 batteries, which are half the size of the first one in high, so you can fit two for one CR2032 and go up to 6V capacity for light up your LEDs without doing a base augmentation, so that will depend on what battery you can find. Just remind that you cannot mix the batteries between size or voltage capacity, and even between brand, because you never know what they do. The last one is the magnet and paperclip. Magnets are 1.5mm diameter by 1mm high, and I will use them to fix batteries under the base of Obi-Wan. The paperclip will be used to do the electrode touching the side of the batteries under the base of Obi-Wan. The first step set in the right hand of Obi-Wan with the lightsaber. I will take the model knife and I cut the blade as close as possible to the hilt. Then I will take the 0.8mm drill, the hand drill, and I will do a hole around 1mm depth, 2mm maximum. Around the end of the first diminution of the hilt I will stop here, because I will make the wires goes out on the side like you can see in the picture. And when you have done that, you take the model knife again and you will do an incision on the side around the thumb of the Obi-Wan. And this one has to be big enough to make the lead get inside, so it's 1 millimeter wide by 0.5 high. And you can adjust it when you try to make the lead get inside. So you will have to make the wires goes out around the long of the saber and the hand of Obi-Wan. You have to adjust the position of the lead, so when you take your batteries and you put it on the wires, you will have a torchlight. Uh, so if the light goes well, you can cut the wires to the 2/3 of the length. Then you can start to strip the wires and do it with a big length, so you would not too short when you stick it along the thumb and the armor on the hand of the Obi-Wan. On this picture you can see the lead, which is in yellow inside the saber, and you see it's perfectly centered, so the light will go well outside of the saber. You can see the different wires, one around the armor plate of Obi-Wan and the other one under the thumb. As you can see in this picture, I painted one of the wires in red. That was the one which was welded to the resistor. Remember to do so and to let the other one black, so you can differentiate the two wires. Next, you will have to take the blunt blade of the model knife and you take the super glue and you will set some small drops around where the wires go on the hand. You will push gentle to set it, and when it's set you will have to scratch the wires so you can see the metal again. When it's done, you will have to put some conductive paint on it to make a good conductivity. Now with your 1.6 millimeter drill, you will have to make a small hole which is not too deep on the top of the saber to set the blade again. So now we have cut the wires, we have to paint it back again with the conductive paint. So you can see in this picture that I went from the right hand and the black wires, which is next to the thumb, to the left feet of Obi-Wan. To proceed, you have to paint the different parts separated. It's easier, and when it's set, when it's dry, you will have to assemble it back just to check if every conductive paint parts area are touching each other. In order to verify the conductivity, you take the multimeter and you will have the electrode to check around your circuit if the electricity goes by. Be careful around the buckle. The buckle is where the paint have a tendency to go inside of the belt, and you have to make sure that the electricity goes by like it should. Use thin layers to do the different layers of the conductive paint and avoid traces. When it's dry, you will take the multimeter and you will set electrodes under the feet and on the right hand, and you will check if the conductivity is good. If it's not, just add some conductive paint. For the back of Obi-Wan, I made the red wire from the armor plate goes by around his arm under the skirt, so you have to paint the two sides of the skirt. Don't forget to paint the parts unassembled, it's easier, and you will have to build it again without sticking it and check if the current goes by from the end to the feet under the feet. Be careful here to the different parts of the belt again around the different pouches he has. This is where the paint is quite complicated to set. You will have to scratch the paint maybe if your wires stick together, like around the elbow. Now you take some paperclip parts or wires and you will check if the lead light up. If it's not lighting up, you will have to check small part by small part your circuits and add some conductive paint when multimeter pointer moves or it beeps. We can now start work on the base of Obi-Wan. I take two batteries, so the CR2032, and I stick them together with paraffin. If you don't have paraffin, you can take your kitchen film, you just have to wrap it with more layers. The right of the battery, I do a small notch to the electrode. Now I take a pencil and I draw a circle on top of the base for where I have to cut. And we take the Dremel and the 3.2 mm to do a big huge hole on the top of the base. You don't have to follow exactly what you draw, and after you did that you will have to polish the inside with either the cutter and the sharp blade or the sandpaper disc with the Dremel. Be sure to have enough room for the batteries. In this picture you can see that the batteries fit inside the hole we made, but they are higher than the top of the base, and that's why we do the high augmentation of the base. Here I've made a circle of plastic card in order to have the new top base where the feet of Obi-Wan will be stick on it. I've made a small notch on the side in order to put a magnet that will be at level to fix batteries underneath the base, and I've made a hole in the other side of the base here, so I can push the batteries while I'm moving inside, mainly because paraffin sticks. Here you can see the new top of the base with the magnet at the level, which will be magnetize the batteries underneath. You can see it, and there is good contact between it. In parallel of everything, I will take the paperclip and the Dremel equipped with the sandpaper disc. I will polish the tip of the paperclip on the side. This side will be touching the side of the batteries and act as the electrode. It has to be quite big and uniform in order to make a good conductivity of electricity. On the side of the base, I use the drill to do a C shape to make room for the paperclip electrode. Then, with the milliput or the green stuff you have, you make a circle around the top of the base. You put the new top plastic card base, and you will have to do some setting with the batteries set in position so the magnet fits to the batteries, and the paperclip just touch the side of the battery where you cut your paraffin. Adjust its angle so it can touch the side of the battery. Now I will smooth the milliput with a rubber pencil. If the magnet and the electrode touch the battery, I then take the super glue and I will set a thin layer of super glue in the inside of the milliput, just to make it dry instantly and stop sticking to the batteries. On this picture here you can see the paperclip which is sticking to the side of the battery. You can check with the multimeter if the current goes by like it should, so you put one electrode on the magnet on the top of the base and the other one touching the paperclip on the top of the base, and if it's not working you will have to check if everything is touching as it should, and you can add some conductive paint on the magnet inside if you have the necessity to do so. When it's done you will have to glue the resistor on top of the base. So what I do first is I take the Dremel with the disc and I cut the paperclip to the level of the new top of the base. Then I will have to glue the resistor on top, and you have to make one of the wires going out touch where the paperclip is and the other one in the empty. There is no polarity on the resistor, so you don't have to check on which side you glue it. It doesn't matter. So when the resistor is set in position, you will make bound between the wires of the resistor and the paperclip and the other wire and the empty. When that first layer dried, you add some more conductive paint to make sure the bound is strong enough on both the wires and the other side, and you do the same thing with the magnet on the other side of the base. So when you put Obi-Wan on the base, the paint under his feet and the paint you set on the base just stick together. And if you do so and you set a battery underneath the base, you should see a flashlight, a light from his lightsaber. And if it works like that, you can now stick Obi-Wan on the base. So you will have to scratch under his feet, like a third of the feet. So you can put super glue and fix it on the base. Be sure to have at least a third of the base underneath the feet to not have any conductive paint or anything paint like you set on your plastic card like I did. So Obi-Wan sticks well to the base. The best for it is just to scratch it and to put some good quantity of super glue so it firms well to the base. When it's done, lay it up again to check if there is a bond between base and feet. Now we can move on to the undercoating. Do not forget to protect the lead with blue tack or Patafix or whatever past name it is. You can use also scotch to protect it and protect the underneath base with where there is a magnet and the paper clip. As you can see, white undercoat it's enough to hide all the conductive paint. If you painted it in smooth layer, you won't see any trace. In parallel, you can take your acrylic road blade, take the old blade in plastic you had, you cut the same length, and with your Dremel and the sandpaper, you polish it, the tip, so it's quite sharp. To do so, I set my Dremel at high speed and I take the blade between my thumb and my index, and I move my thumb and index in circles so I can have a smooth bevel at top of the blade. You can now varnish this with gloss varnish, and this will provide a great light conductivity inside the blade. And now this is the final result after paint of my Obi-Wan Kenobi with light cyber LED. Feel free to ask any question if you need so. Goodbye.